Hello, yeah, there we go. Hello, dear ones. Welcome to our rest and reset, our R&R this evening with Practice in Need. If you are joining us from home, you will need a few props for this class. You'll need a couple of blankets. In general, we use these lovely wool blankets here at the studio, but you generally just want something that will give you some structure and some support. So if you have a good accent rug, that's not the right word, accent blanket, feel free to grab a couple of those. Even a folded sheet or other blanket would work. And then also, if you have a bolster at home, this is a great practice for it, or you can use a sleeping pillow, as Brittany is demonstrating here. And ideally, you want the length of the sleeping pillow. So if you have some accent pillows that are shorter, it'll be a little bit better to have a longer pillow for this one. So I'm gonna intro this a little bit so you have a few minutes to go and get any props that you might need. And this is a great opportunity to do that. So to make yourself set up for support. In general, our R&R is a blend of restorative and guided meditation or mindfulness practice. And with restorative poses, we're gonna hold the poses longer, but you're going to be in a very propped, very supported space. And what this allows is deep release from our tissues in our systems. It allows us to open up and have active, intentional, purposeful relaxation that actually allows us to release at deeper levels than just, a short breathing practice. Or even sometimes when we sleep at night, we're not truly resting because our bodies are held in states of tension and stress. And so an R&R or restorative practice is a great opportunity to help to alleviate that, to help to bring balance. Really what we're gonna do is come back to our breath, to our body, to our being, and it's an invitation to come back to our wholeness. And so that's our intention today. This practice today is going to focus on releasing stress, tension, anxiety, and also bringing us back to intentional patterns with our breath and our systems. So without further ado, we're going to begin with some movement. Oftentimes, restorative practices are great to be done towards the end of the day. And as we've moved through the whole of our day and all the things that we come into contact with in life, sometimes it's great to just take a moment to stretch out some of the things that we use and that we hold in similar spaces. So we're gonna work a little bit on the neck and the shoulders, then we're gonna get into some of these deeper restorative postures. So we're gonna begin first with some shoulder rolls. So I invite you to bring the tops of your shoulders up towards your ears and down your back. Beginning inhaling as the tops of the shoulders come up, exhaling as the shoulder blades slide down the back. Just following the flow of your breath, switching directions, bring the shoulder blades up and around, bring the tops of the shoulders forward and down. One more here. Then releasing, dropping the shoulders down. We're going to invite the whole chest and abdomen to come into that movement. So bringing the palms of your hands to your knees. On the inhalation, you're going to bring your chest forward and towards your right knee. Then coming over and around to the left knee. Then begin to press and round through the shoulders, hollowing through the belly as you come around again. And as you inhale, shining the heart forward, coming around. Exhale, beginning to press and round through the shoulders. If you're familiar with cat-cow stance, your spine is making similar shapes. Moving with intention and purpose. Feeling how it feels to breathe and be in your body right here and now. The end of your breath, switch directions. Letting the inhalation be full and deep. Inviting the breath into the belly, the pelvic bowl, the tailbone. Letting the exhalation be long. One more round of breath here. And coming back to that neutral spine, sitting up tall through the spine. On the exhalation, let the right ear come towards the right shoulder. Bring the right fingertips to the left temple. Let your hand just rest there. No need to press or force the head down, but let gravity, the heaviness of your hand, do the work. Again, paying attention to the breath here. One more deep, full inhalation. As you exhale, release the fingers from the temple. Bring the head back up to center. Circle the shoulders one more time just to release anything there. Then sitting up tall, growing through the spine, bring the left ear to the left shoulder. Bringing left fingertips to the right temple. Inviting the breath deep and full into the body. With each exhalation, inviting release without effort. One more deep, full inhale. As you exhale, release the fingertips. Bring your head back up to the sky. So next, I'm going to invite you to bring your hands out to either side, just letting your palms rest on the earth, or maybe letting the fingertips find there if your palms need to tent a little bit. Inhale, extend the left fingertips up to the sky, and begin to bend over to the right, softening in that right shoulder. Reaching through the left fingertips. Softening in the jaw. Inhale, reach just a millimeter deeper as you exhale, coming back through center, reaching up through the right fingertips, bending over to the left. Inhale, reach as you exhale, coming back up through center. Inhale, circling the arms overhead, let the palms come to touch. As you exhale, twisting to the right, left palm finds right knee, right hand plants behind the spine. No need to force yourself into the deepest possible twist. Just notice where you are in your body. And invite the breath into the fullness of the belly. Letting the torso expand and open. As you exhale, releasing back through center. Inhale, circling the arms up overhead. As you exhale, twisting to the left, right hand finds the left knee, left palm plants behind the spine. Look out over the left shoulder, softening through the belly. Noticing how the sensation shifts with each arc of the breath. As you exhale, releasing back through center. Inhale, circling the arms up overhead. As you exhale, twisting to the right. Finding your depth first. Once you get there, extend the right fingertips up overhead. Begin to gently bend over the left knee. So coming into this lateral bend with the twist. Feeling the right ribs splay and open. One more deep inhale here. As you exhale, right hand sweeps down to the left knee as you press and round through the shoulders, coming back through center in the spine. Inhale, growing tall. Exhale, folding over the legs. Inhale brings you back up to center. Inhale the arms up overhead one more time. As you exhale, twist to the left. Finding your depth here first. Breathing in fully, extending left fingertips up overhead, bending over the right knee. Feel that long line of energy from the left hip through to the left fingertips. Feel your body open with each inhalation. Feel your body relax with each exhalation. Inhale, reach. As you exhale, left hand sweeps down to the right knee, rounding through the shoulders, growing tall through the spine. Exhale, bending forward over your heads. Inhale back up to seated. We're going to begin with our first supported posture. And so for this, you will need your props. So the first thing I'm going to invite you to do is to take one of your rolled blankets, or folded blankets rather. And if you're practicing with your pillow at home, we're going to set that up first. The bolster is a little bit easier, but what you're going to do is take your folded blankets and this longer rectangle shape, and you're going to roll from crease to fringe and create a little base of support. And then you're going to let that go right in the middle of your mat, towards about the center of your mat to the back of your mat in the middle. Perfect. And then if you have that pillow, you're going to lay it long on top. Perfect. So it's going to be some extra support. We're going to begin with supported fish. So you're going to let your torso lay on top. If you have your bolster, you likely don't need a blanket for that. You can just lay the bolster long ways. The final invitation is if you have any real sensitivity in the low back, you may also want to roll your second blanket as a prop, as a tent for the knees, but that's an optional space. So as you come to sit in front of your bolster setup, your makeshift bolster setup, if that's what you're offering, leave a couple inches of space between the edge and your low back, your sacrum. If you want, you can bend deeply through the knees, plant the soles of the feet on the mat, and begin to lower back to the bolster. If you notice a lot of constriction in the low back, you can shift your hips a little further forward. And if you're noticing some discomfort in the neck, you can bring your folded blanket underneath for just a little added support for the head and neck. You can keep your knees bent, or you can let your legs go long, let your feet splay open. Let your arms and hands rest by your side, palms facing the sky. Of your breath, the rhythm and the presence of your heartbeat. With each inhalation, inviting the breath deeper into the body, into the belly. With each exhalation, bringing length and spaciousness. Just notice how it feels to breathe and be in your body. Staying in this position of comfort, bring your attention and awareness to the tips of your big toes. Letting your awareness spread from the tip of the big toe through the full big toe and enveloping all of your toes. traveling up through the muscles and the tendons of the feet, encompassing the heels and the ankles. Soften there. Embracing the space of your feet that support you in every step. Let your awareness embrace and expand from there, traveling up through the shins and the calves, coming up into the kneecaps and the back of the knees. Soften there. Noticing the vulnerability at the back of the knee, the strength and security of the kneecap. From there, we embrace and expand, traveling up through the thighs, through the glutes, through the inner groin, into the hips and the pelvis, the root and the tailbone. Soften there. This lower half of your body that moves you through the world, that connects you at depth. In every breath, in every step. Embracing your entire lower half, traveling up through the whole of the pelvis, the psoas muscle, the sacrum, the low belly, the pelvic bowl. Soften there. This is a space where we often hold tension, where we often find constriction. And so in this moment, in this breath, in this heartbeat, we can let ourselves simply be present there. To invite the breath to meet us where we are. To soften with ease and embracing. Traveling up from the low belly, embracing the stomach and the lungs, the spleen, the kidneys, the adrenals, all of our abdominal organs, our ribs that encompass them, that protect them and move with them. Soften there. The home of our gut, our intuition, our personal power, our inner knowing. This deeper, wider center of being right here within you. From there, we travel up through the spine, finding the heartbeat, finding the tops of the lungs, the sternum, the thymus gland. These centers of sensing even faster and first over the brain. Our heart always knows first. Soften there. Let the breath fill and meet you. yourself be held right where you are, just as you are. From there, we travel up through the chest to the collarbones, to the shoulders, to the shoulder blades. Soften there. These spaces where we often feel the weight of the world on our shoulders, where we take on responsibility and expectation and judgment. And in this breath, we can let all that be. We can be as we are, right here and now. From the tops of the shoulders, we travel down through the arms, the biceps and the triceps, through the interconnectivity of the muscles, down through to the elbows. Soften there. Knowing that you don't need to hold anything right where you are. And in fact, letting yourself feel the support of your mat beneath you and the earth below that. From the elbows, we travel down through the forearms, through the wrists, into the knuckles, the palms, the fingertips. These arms of capacity, these arms and fans and fingers that create, these fingers that even hold our very fingerprints, the uniqueness of who we are in this life. Soften there. Remembering that all of you is welcome here, just as you are. Traveling back up through the arms, into the shoulders, coming into the throat and the neck, the space of our voice, into the jaw, the mouth, the tongue, the teeth. Create some space between your teeth and soften there. Letting your voice, your truth be known to you right here in this breath. In the space of our jaw and our mouth, we travel up through the skull, through the cheekbones, through the eyes, the eyebrows, the nose. Soften there. This space of insight as we take in the world and let it blend and dance with our own inspiration and insight. Letting ourselves know what we know and be as we are. From there, tracing the hairline, coming up to the top of the head and the crown of the head, down the back of the skull, even into the occipital bones, the base of the skull. Soften there. This space that holds such incredible powers of imagination, inspiration, knowledge, of choice. Knowing that all of you is embraced right where you are, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat. Let yourself experience 3 more really deep, full rounds of breath right where you are. As you find your third exhale, bring one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart. Begin to feel movement again, taking the opportunity to connect to right where you are. Your next exhale, beginning to bring your palms to the earth beside you and gently lifting your torso up off the bolster. Feel free to wiggle through the toes, maybe bend through the knees, and just beginning to wake up a little bit. We'll move into our next posture. And so whether you have your bolster, whether you have your blanket and pillow set up, all you're going to do is shift it from being long ways on your mat to short ways on your mat, still towards the back of your mat. And then you're going to come to face the right side of your mat, just bringing your hips to the lower edge of the bolster. You're going to reach out with the right arm, coming up and over the bolster, letting the ribs rest there. And if you would like a little extra support, you can bring your other folded blanket between your ear and the top of your arm and shoulder to have a little extra support. We're coming into this supported crescent. Be here for a few minutes. So find a place of comfort here. Feel like you can also bring a blanket between your knees if you're noticing some pressure in the low back. And with each inhalation, as you let it be full and deep in the body, notice the sensations with the right side and the right ribs pressing into the pillow or the bolster. And with curiosity, just let yourself rest with those sensations. Let your awareness and your focus be in that space of your body with each breath. Noticing the pathways of the breath, the sensation in your tissues. Noticing how things dance with each aspect of the breath. And noticing with each breath how it shifts in nuance with each next breath. Big, deep breath in, pausing at the top of the breath. Sipping in even deeper, finding even more space. And parting at the lips, exhale, sigh out the mouth. Letting it all go. On your next exhale, gently raising the torso up off your bolster. And simply flipping your hips and your side around to the other side. And reaching out with that left hand, coming up and over your bolster setup. Finding a space of rest on the other side. In yoga, we come to understand samskaras as these mental and emotional patterns. And I think oftentimes we find and understand patterns in these really big moments. If there are challenges and lessons that we continue to circle around again and again and again. But samskaras are also in these very intimate daily moments. These moments as we move throughout our lives, through our days. And there's so much beautiful benefit and opportunity for us to slow down and notice. That's what this whole practice is about, is to slow down, to notice the flow of the breath, to notice the sensation in the body, and to come with presence and curiosity. To not have to label anything good, bad, right, wrong. To not have to get to a particular endpoint, but to come back to ourselves, to breathe, to be as we are. And in that spaciousness, in that slowing down, we have the opportunity to come to know those patterns and to come back to a sense of wholehearted choice as we move forward. As we untangle patterns or as we institute new habits, we create the space to have intentional choice. And so breath by breath, in this slowness of practice, in these very simple movements, in this invitation to the breath, we come back to ourselves with intention, with purpose, with wholeness. Feeling through 3 more rounds of breath here. As you release that 3rd breath, I invite you to take 1 more deep, full breath, pausing at the top of the inhalation, sipping in even deeper, finding even more spaciousness within, then parting at the lips, sigh it out the mouth, letting it all go. On your next exhale, begin to lift yourself gently off your bolster. We're going to move our bolster or pillow aside for the moment. You'll need both of your blankets. If you have a rolled blanket, you're going to keep your roll. Only this time you're going to place it at the back of your mat. And you may want to undo a little bit of the roll so that it's just a little less intense. And your other blanket, you're going to bring into that long rectangle fold and bring it in the middle of your mat. So as we get ready, you're going to come into a tabletop position. The blanket here will be for your hips. You're going to bring the tops of your feet over that blanket roll. It's just going to create a little spaciousness for the tops of your feet and your ankles. You bring your palms out in front of you, gently lower yourself down to your belly. From here, you're going to place your right hand down and your left hand on top, and eventually bring your forehead to rest on top of your hands. Once again, letting yourself return to the deep wave of your breath. If you're noticing any tension or constriction in the low back and the sacrum, I invite you to slightly tuck the tailbone just to create a little extra extension through that space. It'll lighten the constriction that you're feeling. And also, I invite you to bring the breath into that constriction. Oftentimes, we're feeling that constriction because the muscles are holding. And so if you invite the breath into that space, there's a dynamic flow quality that we're inviting into there. And little by little, it begins to soften that tension. As we examine these patterns of our mental expressions, our thoughts, our processing, and often our emotional patterns, which tend to be more fluid and dynamic in our systems, it's interesting to come back to the pattern of the breath. The breath becomes this beautiful mirror for everything else. When we find stress and tension, we often become more shallow in our breathing. As we hold the tension, we reduce the capacity of our breath. And so in this practice, in this moment, with this breath, we have the opportunity for spaciousness, for opening, for softening, simply by inviting the breath deeply and more fully into our bodies. By letting ourselves notice the patterns and the sensations of the breath, and continuing to explore our edge and our capacity there. If you find yourself run away with a thought, simply release it in the moment of awareness. Let yourself return to the textures and contours within you, to exploring the density and space within your body, within your being. No need to force or control, but just letting yourself notice and be curious and aware. Let yourself feel and experience 3 more deep, full breaths right where you are. Bottom of your third breath, bending through your knees, sending your feet towards the sky, and just letting them fall from side to side, just a little gentle reverse windshield wiper, just to open up that low back. And letting your feet come back to the earth. Put your palms underneath your shoulders and gently begin to lift yourself. And feeling free to bring your hips kind of through that tabletop position, then sending them back to the heels. Just a little gentle child's pose, just to counteract our experience with the low back. One more full breath here. As you exhale, coming back to that tabletop position. We begin to set up for our next posture. So with your folded blankets, I'm going to invite you to fold it one more time into this shorter stance and let it sit just above the halfway mark of your mat. Then you're going to take your other blankets and unroll it and let it be long and bring it to the top of your mat here. Beautiful. So you're going to bring your hips to the rear, face the right side, much like we did with our crescent, supported crescent earlier. You're going to let your kind of hips stack, your knees stack, facing the right side. Then you're going to bring your right shoulder down, bring your head to the mat, and you're going to extend your arms out in front of you, and then sweep your left arm over and open. Be mindful of the candles here. And we're going to come into this kind of gentle supine twist variation. Letting that folded blanket meet us right underneath those ribs. Feeling free to roll or fold that top blanket if you need a little more support for the arms. So sweeping your arm open, letting your chest open. If that is too much for your chest, you can feel free to bring that back arm either to your hip or to the sacrum. Just letting your chest gently open without needing to force it. Again, getting curious about how the flow of the breath shifts and changes the dynamics within your tissues. how it feels at the low back and the sacrum, how the low belly opens and expands. How we do one thing is often how we do pretty much everything else. This is a really beautiful opportunity to notice, how does it feel to lay here and breathe when the most important question is how and from where are you breathing? How comfortable do we find it to just be in our skin? And in this moment, we can release any tendency towards judgment or criticism and simply be curious about what comes up, what surfaces as we come to be present with ourselves, as we come to meet ourselves where we are in this very heartbeat. Feeling one more deep, full inhalation right in front of you and beginning to lift up, shifting your knees and face around to the other side. You can begin to lay down with your arms coming to the left side, sweeping that right arm open. Letting yourself rest there. And feeling free to notice if you're okay in this same setup or if you need to adjust on this side. Maybe this is where you need to not go so deep and instead come to the hip or the sacrum. Letting your breath flow freely, letting your heart beat deeply, letting yourself be as you are. Oftentimes, our minds feel like we need a much more extravagant strategy to meet the intensity of our lives and that slate of expectations and productivity. And actually, so much is gained and accomplished through this element of spaciousness, of relaxation, of release, of letting ourselves be and integrate breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat. So as you breathe here and now, remember that it's all accomplished. Practice and all is possible. Noticing this next inhalation and noticing your exhalation. Your next exhalation, sweeping your back arm towards the front once again. Letting your palms find the earth, gently lifting your torso up. We're now going to transition into our final resting posture. So your blanket for your head and neck and even down to the tops of your shoulders can stay exactly where it is. And I'm going to invite you with your other rolled blanket, or perhaps if you prefer your bolster or your pillow, yogi's choice. If you want the blanket, you can roll it again from that crease to fringe and create a little tent for your knees. So it's going to go towards the front, about a third of the way back from your mat. And if you prefer the bolster or the pillow, it's going to go in the same space. You don't need the blanket in that case. So you'll bring your hips to sit in the middle of your mat. You'll swing your legs over top, planting your feet here. Begin to lower yourself down to the ground, letting the tops of your shoulders and your head rest on the blankets. As you're ready, you can let your legs come back. Feel free to adjust the blanket if you need to. Letting your legs go long and your feet splay open. I invite you to lift your right shoulder off the mat. Slide your shoulder blade down and then bring that right shoulder back to the mat. Then lifting the left shoulder, slide that shoulder blade down the back. Eventually finding your way to a full release. Let your inhale be full and deep, pausing at the top of the breath. Sipping in even deeper. Big sigh, let it all go out the mouth. In this posture, we release from the conscious efforting of the breath and the body. We let ourselves be held here. To breathe, to be. To integrate all that we've just moved through. To integrate all that we are. As with each breath and each heartbeat, we find this deeper, wider center of being within us. This wholeness, this truth of who we are. And so breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, we let ourselves soften, we let ourselves open, we let ourselves receive. Letting yourself rest in the wave of your breath. Letting it be as easy as inhaling and exhaling right where you are. Once again, connecting to the wave of your breath, the rhythm and the presence of your heartbeat. With so much ease and gentleness, I invite you to begin to wiggle the fingers and toes. Perhaps letting your thumb find your forefinger and beginning to feel the pads of your fingertips. Noticing your fingerprints, the uniqueness of you right here and now. On your next exhalation, extending your arms up overhead, beginning to feel that breadth and depth from the soles of your feet through your fingertips. Your next exhale, letting yourself come gently, inviting the knees to come into the chest, rocking a little from side to side, just feeling that sacrum rooted to the earth. Allowing yourself to fall over to a side of your choice, pausing there, breathe. In this posture of rebirth, we are reminded that we begin again in every breath, with choice, with sovereignty, with wholeness. Inhaling fully and deeply. As you exhale, gently finding your way back to seated in whatever way serves you. Letting your palms connect in front of your heart. Left palm in union with right palm. Slight tuck of the chin as you bow towards your heart. And we thank you each for joining us in practice today. Letting yourself remember that wholeness within you, beyond the patterns, beyond the ingrained programming. That part of you that knows your truth, your brilliance right here in this very heartbeat. Namaste in its simplest form means the light in me honors and acknowledges the light in you. Bringing thumbs to third eye center between the eyebrows and the forehead, bowing forward to seal your practice. Namaste. Thank you, yogis. Thanks for joining us online. We'll see you soon. Huzzah!
Huzzah!